الحمد لله نحمده ونشكره، نستعين به جل وعلا ونستهديه ونستغفره، نعوذ به سبحانه وتعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فهو المهتد، ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. عباد الله، أنصحكم ونفسي الآثمة بتقوى الله، أحثكم وإياها على طاعته، أحذركم وإياها وبال مخالفته جل وعلا ومعصيته. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله، وارض اللهم عن أصحابه وأزواجه، واغفر اللهم للمسلمين والمسلمات إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في المحكم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال: أجئتنا لتخرجنا من أرضنا بسحرك يا موسى، فلنأتينك بسحر مثله فاجعل بيننا وبينك موعدا لا نخلفه نحن ولا أنت مكانا سوى. قال: موعدكم يوم الزينة وأن يحشر الناس ضحى. الآيات الكريمات are in Surah Taha. Well, this is a debate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts in the Quran between Musa and Fir'aun. Fir'aun starts by telling Musa, the meaning of the ayah, قال أجئتنا لتخرجنا من أرضنا بسحرك يا موسى. Did you come to us? Fir'aun is telling Musa, did you come to us so you can force us out of our land with your magic? Ya Musa, what was the magic of Musa? There was no, that's before the snake, before he threw his cane yet. What was the magic? Apparently, the magic to Fir'aun is the eloquency of Musa and the haqq that comes on the tongue of Musa alayhi salam. That was magic. For obviously to him, no matter how you beautify the batil, and you may follow the batil oftentimes, and we all do, we are all sinners. نعم كل ابن آدم خطاء. النبي الأعظم صلى الله عليه وسلم says all the sons of Adam, the offspring of Adam, are sinners. So people make mistakes. Shaitan beautifies the mistakes. Like, no matter how much you beautify the sin, it's still a sin. Even those who lie, they realize that lying is not good and they don't like to be lied to. And you ask a pathological liar, would you like me to lie to you? No, please tell me the truth. Someone who cheats all the time, can I cheat you? No, he doesn't like to be cheated. Someone who steals all the time, does he like his things to be stolen from him? No. Notice, though they justify what they do, whatever their rationale is. Now, we're not talking about their rationale or their reasoning. Lakin, no matter how much you beautify it, it still is batil. Fir'aun did not know how to refute Musa alayhi salam except by calling whatever he says sihr. This man, Musa, whatever he's saying, that's sick. Why? Because the haqq cannot be overcome. It's not easy to overcome the haqq if you listen and compare and contrast. Obviously, if you close your mind, anything goes. When the light is off in the brain, whatever they tell you, كَالرِّيحِ إِذَا مَالَتْ مَالَ حَيْثُ تَمِيلُ. Wherever the wind goes with the wind. There's no principle. Lakin if there is a light on, and there is the basis of the book of Allah and the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, then the light is on and it's not like the wind. So he accused Musa with magic. He says, فَلَنَأْتِيَنَّكَ بِسِحْرٍ مِثْلِكَ. He says, I will challenge you to a magic just like your magic. Which magic? مَا هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. هذا ذكر. It's not about magic. It's about haqq. It's about freedom versus slavery. It's about freedom versus oppression. It's about dhulm versus justice. It's not about magic. He says, make us a date. فَاجْعَلْ لَنَا مَوْعِدًا. Pharaoh is asking Musa, make a date between us and you so we can come. لا نخلفه نحن ولا أنت مكانا سوى. Both of us will come to it. You'll bring your magic and we'll bring our magic. Musa قال موعدكم يوم الزينة. The day is يوم الزينة. يوم means the day. Zina means beautification. يوم الزينة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala في القرآن الكريم sometimes mentions the word يوم for a specific day, a day of something. Usually that's a day of celebration, Eid. يوم الزينة was Eid. That's when all the people at that time gathered. They call it the day of Zina. Day of Eid. Nowadays, still people, when the day of Eid comes, they put their beautiful clothing, or they put their beautiful ornaments, and they put their perfumes, non-alcoholic perfumes obviously, and they put these things, right? Khair. That day was also, some of the Mufassirin, they say Yawm al-Zina, this was from Ibrahim alayhi salam. You all know Ibrahim alayhi salam, he saw people worshipping what? Idols. They're worshipping idols. Yawm al-Zina, especially the day of the Eid, as in every nation. Sometimes, let me just go a little bit further. Sometimes every nation, every group of human beings, every society, they have a day of celebration of some kind. Eid. Some days are based on a national element. And what does that mean? Independence Day. In some countries, the whole country celebrates that day. They feel that that day brings them pride and brings them a sense of accomplishment. So they celebrate their Independence Day, they celebrate their National Day. Some days like that are based on national elements. Some other time, the days of Eid are based on ethnicities. يعني a tribe within a nation celebrates. The Indians, they celebrate their own things. For example, the Indian Americans, or the Native Americans, if you want to call it, because they thought they were Indians, because Columbus came here thinking they were Indians. No, he did not even reach India, so he called them Indians. They're not really Indians. They're the original owners of this land. Now, those who inhabited this country. But he called them Indians because he thought he was going all the way to India. He thought he reached India. Anyway, so the Native Americans, they also have their own days. Ethnicity within a country, they celebrate. They celebrate their ethnic accomplishment, their ethnic important days, whatever it is. So are things always. Many times you go to Africa, different tribes have different things. Sometimes the Eids are based on a religious element, like Yawm al-Zina. Yawm al-Zina is a religious-based element of Eid. What does that mean? The people at the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam, that day of Eid, the day of beauty, they would go first to the worship place where are all the idols. They worship the idols, starting with the small to the biggest one. After that, they go out to the picnic with their families, and they have food and out in the desert, and plays and games and everything. At the end of the day, before they go to their homes, they go back to the worship place. They give their thanks to those idols, and then they go home. That's Yawm al-Zina. Ibrahim looked at them. أَتَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَنْفَعُكُمْ. You worship from other than Allah things that do not help you. So what he did one day, in the morning they came to worship the idols. They asked permission from the idols to go to do their party and picnic and games out in the desert. Ibrahim stayed behind. He took the axe and he went, starting from the small idol, broke the small idol, then broke the second idol, all the way until the big idol was left. He took the axe and put it on the neck of the biggest idol, the largest one. And he waited. The point, Ibrahim wanted to strike in them the lights on principle. Yani, why are you disabling your brain? Allah gave you an intellect as a human being. We all make mistakes, but a mistake ought not to be continuous, and a mistake ought to be corrected when it's faced with the logic and the sense. Ibrahim wanted to strike that ignition in the intellectual ignition in their minds. They came back, they went to the picnic having Eid, Yawm al-Zina. They came back from the Eid only to see all the idols destroyed except one. They looked, قالوا من فعل هذا بآلهتنا إنه لمن الظالمين. The Quran says on their behalf, they said, whoever did this with our gods, he is really a zalim. قالوا سمعنا فتى يقال له إبراهيم. اذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. Some of the intelligence, the informants, the security people sitting where they said, we have heard, you know how it is. In tyrannies and dictatorships where there is no freedom, upon everyone there is another one. You go to the third world countries or the fifth world countries or the seventh world, or whatever you want to call them. They have so many security agencies and there's still no security in the country. Security of this, or security of that, security of this, and people don't have anything to eat. There's no food security. There's no water security. But they still have all kinds of agencies of security. I'm talking about the dictatorships and those people who follow that line. Like in the first important security in any country, in any society, is to provide justice for the people and food for the people and means and hope and growth and opportunities for people. Well, they said whoever did this, some of these people, they said, we have heard, reports came that one person named Ibrahim used to talk about these gods of ours. It seems like he doesn't like them. And in the old days they didn't tolerate dissent. In other words, freedom of expression was sentenced to jail or sentenced to murder. They would kill you if you simply say, I disagree. قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. There is a fata, young man. Utara, this is also a sign that usually the people who are, it's not discrimination against those who are old versus those who are young. Why Al-Quran says fata, a young man? It seems like because the young people are still unattached. What does it mean unattached? They don't have a profound social attachment or a profound economical attachment or a profound any kind of attachment. In a sense, they are just young, fresh. They think they can change and they can do these things. Al-Quran emphasizes on this as if the older ones who have not voiced the truth and who have not participated in that freedom that every human being is entitled to, they have favored either the benefit of their business or the benefit of their social connections over to say whatever they're supposed to be saying. Therefore, fata, Al-Quran says. And also Allah talks about Ahl Kahf, says, إِنَّهُمْ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ وَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى. They are young people who believed in their Lord and we have increased their iman, Allah mentions, which the ayah means. So that's also an emphasis to the youth. Because the youth sometimes, since there is no clear direction, sometimes, and there are so many currents out there, to emphasize to take the road of Ibrahim alayhi salam, to take the roads of Ahl Kahf, not in their sleeping, but in their awakening. Some people take the role of Ahl Kahf by sleeping 300 years. La, we don't want them to sleep, we want them to wake up. They said his name is Ibrahim. Bring him. They brought Ibrahim. قالوا أنت فعلت هذا بآلهتنا? Did you do this to our gods? He says بل فعله كبيرهم هذا. This big one among them. Don't you see what the axe is? They said, yeah, he did it. Ask them, in كانوا ينطقون. The Quran says on their behalf, on Ibrahim, it says, ask them, if they speak, they will tell you. Don't you worship them? At least they can speak, they can tell you the truth. Then they start thinking. ثم نكسوا على رؤوسهم. Then they put their heads behind. The Quran mentions them. They put their hands, they started thinking. Some of them start thinking, قد علمت هؤلاء لا ينطقون. Those people don't, those things don't speak. You know this. How can you tell us? Ask them. You know that they're thinking. Some of them start thinking. And that's the problem. When some people start thinking, then they start questioning. Some of the group start questioning. You know, these really don't speak. You're making a good point. What's going on here? This. Of course, there's always a group of people who benefit from chaos. What did they say? Al-Quran says immediately, قالوا حرقوه وانصروا آلهتكم إن كنتم فاعلين. Take him, tie him up, and burn him alive if you are to support your gods. Some of the group. Tara, don't think, sometimes when you read the ayah, sometimes I think, do these people were really such a strong believers in the idols? Or were they really, did they want to interrupt and intercept the road of logical understanding and analysis of some of those people who started thinking, wait a minute, what are we doing? So they wanted to raise their voice, make it emotional, stop them thinking, burn him alive. Why? You say, why is that? This makes more sense than because it's impossible for someone to believe in a piece of wood and call it God intellectually. But these people, they benefit from these people worshipping idols. There's always a group, the powerful, they benefit from the others worshipping the idols. Obviously, Quraysh, for example. Now don't think that Quraysh, before the announcement of the Prophet ﷺ's message, Quraysh were benefiting a lot from having the idols, simply by having the idols. How come? Every caravan, convoy of business that goes to Quraysh and from Quraysh, nobody of the desert robbers touch it. No, all the old days, they used to live based on robbery and killing and stealing. Any caravan in the desert that goes and the thieves come and they say, look, we are from Quraysh, my name is such and such, this is the caravan, this goes to Quraysh. They leave them. Number one, they are not touched. Number two, they don't pay. The rule was, if you are not from Quraysh and you're a caravan and a convoy in the desert, you have to pay money. You pay, we'll let you go. You don't pay, we'll take your money. Quraysh doesn't pay. And the people who lead the caravan are never touched. Usually they get killed. They don't get touched. Notice. More than that, all the Arabs at that time and all the people in the peninsula, they would go to Mecca to do business and to do Hajj to their idols and to Baytullah al-Haram. And also that is an economical and political power that is centered in Mecca at that time. So therefore these people benefit. And you're talking about actual corporations at that time. Big corporations that benefited from the people who were following blindly and worshipping idols. Otherwise their businesses would be closed. They cannot manufacture more idols to go. They cannot manufacture more places and clubs and places for people when they come to Mecca to eat and to drink and to sleep. Their businesses would be in jeopardy because otherwise they have to pay tax, or not tax, they would have to pay the robbers so they can safeguard their, etc., etc. There was so many implications, economical and political, in preserving the status quo. Now you can understand their opposition to the Prophet ﷺ. You close your businesses down. And their business is based on, Mecca was a big alcoholic center at that time. Big alcoholic center. Well, if you close it down, who's going to sell alcohol? Islam comes and says no alcohol. Islam comes and says no usury. Quraysh was living off of 30 and 40% usury. Which nowadays may be legal here, though unethical. Loan sharking, legally. Now, you bankrupt the people for the sake of only a group of people that feel no need to think beyond their own personal greed. Therefore, they went and says, حرقوه, burn him alive. Right away, change. Notice, you change the path from an intellectual and analytical or analytical thinking immediately to emotional. No more thinking, burn him alive, he degraded your gods. هذا يوم الزينة. Al-Quran, some other time we'll talk about this. Al-Quran talks about other day, also a day. المائدة, يوم المائدة. قال ربنا أنزل علينا مائدة من السماء. Oh, Allah revealed to us a ma'idah, a tray from heavens. تكون لنا عيدا, that we make it a Eid. That day became يوم المائدة, the day of the tray of food. And the Nasara, يعني at the time of Sayyidina Isa, after Sayyidina Isa, etc., for a long time they would celebrate that day of supper. They call it the Last Supper. Until today, some people even may keep that tradition. They separate that day of Ma'idah, Yawm al-Ma'idah. They celebrate it and they repeat it all the time, and they express their celebration and thanking to their Lord for that day of support to Isa alayhi salam. Well, some of our people, every day is day of Ma'idah. Every day is food. But it comes, notice. Eid, تكون لنا عيدا. Eid comes from two things. Either Eid لأنه يعود, which means it comes back regularly. Anything that comes back on a regular basis in the Arabic language is called Eid. من عاد يعود, comes back again, it's called Eid. Anything that comes back regularly every year or every month or everything is called عاد يعود. من العود عيدا. لا, some other ulama, they said no, Eid, it means that Allah brings every day of that day to the creation a special blessings and forgiveness, so that they can forgive each other. The day of Eid, Yawm al-Zina, we have Eid al-Fitr wa Eid al-Adha. These days are days where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses the creation, and so that they can also show forgiveness and sharing to others. What does that mean? What do you mean sharing and forgiveness and all these things, day of Eid? What is the point of Eid? In the Islamic philosophical principle of Eid, the Eid usually is a day that happens after a worship. So the Eid becomes a day of thanking the Creator for allowing you to worship Him. That's what the Eid is. The Eid again is a day where the believer thanks the Creator for allowing him to worship Him. Eid al-Fitr, for example. You fast, you worship 30 days, and then that day of Eid is a day of thanking Allah for allowing you to worship Him. Many people are not even allowed. Many people, Allah does not guide them to worship that day, or that month, or to fast, or to break their fast in every single day, or in every single way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enabled you to fast and do all these things. You thank Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. You thank Him for allowing you to do the ta'ah, to do the obedience. Not to turn the day of Eid or the day of celebration for this into a day of misguidance. I'll tell you this. Imam Zayn al-Abidin, in the night before, couple of nights before the Eid, any Eid comes, Imam Zayn al-Abidin would go and buy slaves. At that time, slaves were enslaved by people against their will. He would buy them and keep them in his home the few days. He had a long, big home in the desert. He'd keep him a few days before the Eid comes. And he would have some of his people looking after them. The night of the Eid, Imam Zayn al-Abidin would come and calls them by name. Fulan, your name is so, come here. Said, remember when a couple of days ago you did such and such mistake? The people of Zayn al-Abidin, they're watching them. They're doing mistakes. You know, they're doing this, they're sinning, they're doing this. He says, yes, my master, I'm very sorry. Come here, the other one, come here. Remember that day and that day when when you came here, you're doing this to this one, and you're talking about this one, and you're doing that, huh? He says, yeah. And he brings them one after the other, and he calls them about their mistakes that they have done, that his people were watching, and all these people think now, he's our master, now he will torture us, such a severe punishment. He brings them, he says, look, Allah is my witness that I have forgiven you and freed you in the path of Allah. Please raise your hand and say all together, Allahumma afu an Zayn al-Abidin kama afa anna. Oh Allah, forgive Zayn al-Abidin just like he forgave us. He's asking the slaves that did so many mistakes while they were in his home, to raise their hands and ask Allah to forgive Zayn al-Abidin just like he has forgiven them. Then he would give them some of the money he has, and he would tell them, go fi sabil, idhabu fi sabilillah. A thing that we do in Eid, therefore some of the ulama, or many of the ulama actually mention, a day of Eid is a day that you do not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, any day you do not disobey of Allah becomes a day of celebration for you. ليس العيد لمن لبس الجديد إنما العيد لمن طاعته تزيد. The Eid is not for those who wear new clothing. The Eid is for those, the clothing, libasu taqwa huwa khayr. The clothing of taqwa is better, as Al-Quran mentions. Therefore, if you don't disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that day becomes the Eid for you. Says, the Yahya ibn Ya'mar, tabi'i jalil min kibar al-tabi'in, a'imma. He's among the big. He's the one who put the dots on the Quran, by the way. When you read the Quran now, after qa, on top of qala, qaf, you see two dots, or this is, he is the one who did that. Well, before that, the Arabic language did not have any dots. Yahya ibn Ya'mar tabi'i Basri, huwa laysa min al-Kufa, so you can say from the Kufa. Al-Kufa maghdubun alayhim. The people of Kufa have certain restrictions. But anyway, lakin he's from Basra or Basra, they were. There's more connection with the Umayyad government at that time. Al-Hajjaj brings Yahya ibn Ya'mar. Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi brings him, summons him to him. He says, what's the crime? The crime that though this man narrated, put the dots on the Quran and did the service, all these things, the crime was that Yahya ibn Ya'mar, this big tabi'i radiallahu anhu, he said that Al-Hasan wal-Hussein are the sons of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wal-Hajjaj told him they're not the sons, they're the sons of Ali. Fatima, they're not the sons of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at, that's the day of Eid. Yawm al-Adha, that was the day of Adha. Yahya ibn Ya'mar says, no, look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what he says in the Quran al-Kareem. وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِهِ دَاوُودَ وَسُلَيْمَانَ. Allah, when he talks about Ibrahim, he says, مِن ذُرِّيَّتِهِ دَاوُودَ وَسُلَيْمَانَ. Then he says, وَزَكَرِيَّا وَيَحْيَا وَعِيسَى وَإِلْيَاسَ كُلٌّ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. So among the dhurriya of Ibrahim, Allah puts also Isa alayhi salam for the Quran al-Kareem. And Isa's father is not Ibrahim. Isa does not have a father alayhi salam. So he puts Isa through his mother and attaches it to Ibrahim. He says, this is how I attached Al-Hasan and Hussein to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Hajjaj says, listen to my recitation in the Quran. Do I make mistakes? He says, نعم تلحن لحنا خفيا. You make a mistake, but it's implicit, unless someone who's an expert would not know that you don't know how to recite the Quran. You know how some people recite the Quran, they have a nice melody, but there's no ahkam and there's nothing. There is no makharij, there's nothing. Well, Hajjaj, though he used to be a teacher of Quran, but he says lahn khafi, not lahn jali. Al-Hajjaj told him, 3 nights I have. Otherwise, if I see you in anywhere in Iraq, you will be killed. That was, so he put him in exile, year 94. وسيدنا يحيى بن يعمر lived till 129 way after الحجاج died. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا كما أمر، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إرغاما لمن جحد به وكفر. أشهد أن سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم خاتم الأنبياء الشفيع المشفع بالمحشر صلى الله وسلم عليه وعلى آله. ما اتصلت عين بنظر وسمعت أذن بخبر. See how people change their Eids. One day Imam al-Awid does one thing in the Eid, the other people do dhulm in their Eid. Another day, the Quran mentioned the day of birth of Musa, of Isa wa Yahya. Salamu alayhi yawma wulidtu. Salamun alayhi yawma wulid. Yawma yamut. Those days are significant. By default, the day of the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is also significant, for Al-Quran mentions the day of birth of Musa, of Isa, and the day of birth of Yahya. And those are days where we ought to thank Allah for the ni'mah and for what He has given us. Also a day that we have, الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ. Today, that when the Quran was entirely revealed completely, that day that the deen was completed, and we have a completed deen that we ought to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, by showing that we are thankful to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single way. We ought to remember that that day is over way 1,430 years ago. Before that, that day was already completed, and now the message is on our shoulder, mine and every single one of yours. So we can show that every day can be turned into a Eid by not disobeying Allah, but by looking for ways that we can obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and become positive contributors to ourselves and our communities and our society. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اغفر يا مولانا لجميع المسلمين. اللهم من أراد بالإسلام والمسلمين خيرا فوفقه إليه، من أراد بهم غير ذلك فاجعل دائرة السوء عليه. اللهم ردنا إلى دينك ردا جميلا. آت أنفسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها، أنت وليها ومولاها. اشف اللهم مرضانا وعاف مبتلانا وفك أسرانا وارحم موتانا. اللهم الطف بنا في كل نازلة يا رب العالمين. اللهم الطف بالمسلمين، اللهم الطف بالمسلمين. اللهم اغفر لنا وللمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات، إنك يا ربنا سميع قريب مجيب للدعوات. صلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وآله. أقم الصلاة.